Is this in tune? This in tune enough. Hello there, I'm Greg and I'm writing and recording a Christmas song inspired by the classic Christmas pop hits of yesteryear. Intro, we'll keep it simple because it's nearly Christmas. One of my patrons asked for this, so I'm doing it. 3 years ago, my Christmas comedy video was the making of a classic Christmas pop hit by the record producer and obviously earlier in his career pop star, Woody Brown. I edited myself into various bits of archival music footage and so needed to write something that sounded like it could fit in that pantheon. You know, Merry Christmas Everybody, which I think is what the Slade one is called. Simply Having a Wonderful Christmas Time, Stop the Cavalry, those. Now that's what I call Christmas, that kind of thing. I've been told Woody Brown is very middle-aged humour, and yeah. So I'm going to go through how I wrote the song, how I came up with the lyrics, how I recorded the song, and then a little bit of how I made the video in Final Cut. Without further ado, let's go. So the initial seed, the kernel of an idea, was that Woody Brown was going to do a top 5 or a top 10 of classic Christmas songs from all through the ages. They were going to be parodies of existing songs, E17 and all those Spice Girls and things that you would parody and then come up with amusing things to say. So that's what comedy is. Come up with amusing things to say. That's comedy writing. I hope you're writing all this wisdom down. So I started looking for old footage, going through Top of the Pops hits, and I realised, oh, I could edit myself into some of this. Particularly the shots where the camera is still, and I could just, I'll show you later how I edited out a certain person, and I could put myself into there. So then I came up with the idea of, well, let's do a song. So it's not going to be a list of classic pop hits, it's going to be a classic pop hit. So I wanted to find one to parody. I ended up choosing I Wish It Could Be Christmas Every Day by Roy Wood and Wizzard. I think mainly because the original video for that song pretty much terrifies my wife. So I thought it would be funny to recreate that and then see Woody at different ages of his career, where maybe, you know, he sorted himself out a little bit, got a little bit cleaner, and he's enjoying the success, and then maybe slightly later on it's like daytime TV and he's maybe a little bit sick of the song. So that's the narrative. So once I picked that song, I needed a sort of parody-ish tune. So this is off my phone from 2020. It's the most cringe-inducing thing. I've never played anyone anything like this. There. That's what we're talking. So I came up with that tune. I'm singing it incredibly quietly, so I guess it's either the middle of the night or I'm in a dressing room somewhere or something. You know, you don't need to know the chords, you just need to come up with a melody and record it. If I could write music, I would write it down, but I can't. Do-do-do-do-do-do-do, he began to walk around. That's Frosty the Snowman. Particularly with a pop song, don't worry if the tune is exactly like the tune from something else, because it just means it's catchy and sounds like Christmas. Then you need to figure out the chords. So then off my phone I now have this. Very mellow. Generally, I will say the chords as I'm playing C, C, D, D, G, and just record that. But I'm definitely a come up with the melody before the words kind of guy, and then fit the words to the rhythm and flow of the tune. And I think then you come up with words that have cadence and flow, in my humble opinion. So I've got the tune, time to do the lyrics. I came up with the idea of doing a cut-up. I'm a big fan of William Burroughs and David Bowie, and the whole idea of cutting up things, newspapers, poems, bits of letters, kind of put them in a bag, pull them out, and you get this randomized lyric thing. And I thought that maybe Woody Brown, in one of his more experimental moods, would have done something like that too. So I found an online cut-up engine. I've got Rocking Around the Christmas Tree, White Christmas, the Christmas song, Merry Christmas to You, and then, because I find food funny, Delia Smith's classic stuffing recipe. So this is an actual cut-up. Up the really white smoked will so rockin' hung lots gunner and your song, although where Mary loaded the sleigh with roasting pie. I mean, loaded the sleigh with roasting pie. isn't bad. They ground some child, slay the dessert spoon, old nose tonight. Old nose tonight, wear a tide and sleep pork, may see tiny to jolly black everybody. So yeah, this was useless. It was a fun dead end. So I didn't abandon the idea, but I gently let it go. I wished it all the best, but I let it go. And decided in the end to use Rocking Around the Christmas Tree, the Christmas song, Chestnuts Roasting on an Open Fire, that one, and the Delia Smith Classic Stuffing Recipe, and just write it myself, like a good boy. So talking about writing comedy songs, I don't blame you if you don't find this song particularly funny. Neither do I. What's the joke? What's the joke? I think when it sticks to the gag of cutting in a stuffing recipe into a song, it does work. But a thing I've realised that I found really interesting is that Christmas songs are sort of irony-proof. Because the gag when I was writing it and making myself chuckle at my desk was, oh, these lyrics are terrible. Because they are. Reindeer, tinsel and turkey too, choirs and mistletoe, 5 gold rings and other Christmas things like log fires, nog and snow. So the gag there, the non-existent gag, was, oh, it's just a list of Christmas things that rhyme. It has no content, it has no meaning. But I realise now Christmas songs, they're all terrible. Or they're great, but the classics are full of terribleness, like Gone away is the bluebird, here to stay is the new bird. He sings a love song as we go along, walking in a winter wonderland. They're just words that rhyme. That's all they need to be, and they're about Christmas, which is kind of, as I say, it's irony-proof, it's cynicism-proof. So just these lyrics are bad doesn't convey as being funny in the way I hoped. Little Saint Nick gonna bring the cheer, he's on his little way. It's an absolutely festive time of year. Hey, 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 hey. There's lots of toys for girls and boys. I knew I had to rhyme toys and boys because they all do. Yes, girls and lovely boys. Lots and lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of toys. So there was meant to be a gag in there that he'd sort of literally written this on the back of a fag packet, and it was kind of terrible, but it's not terrible. It's a lovely Christmas song. And as someone who loves Christmas and Christmas songs, yes, I'll be with you in a minute, cat. But as someone who loves Christmas and Christmas songs, I just like it. I think it's really good. But when I stick to the gag of cutting in the stuffing recipe, it works and it's funny. Chop the onions fine. And here's the magnificent technical way in which I write down my chords. So if it's a ×3, here we've got G da 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 da, G da 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 da, G da 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 da, C, D7. The 2 G's there is da 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 da, and that's a single C. G, C, G. And I've even put D7 ×7, which is da 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 da. So that's how I write down chords. Break it down so they're long hanging chords. Then do a key change. How do we do a key change? A classic pop song will often have a key change up at the end. It's the bit where boyzones stand up off their stools. Because they've got nowhere else to go. E minor. Move it up 1. It's F minor. F sharp minor, G minor, A flat minor, A minor, because you get to G and then go around back to A. For most of the song it's Christmas, do do do. Then you have a key change so it becomes Christmas, do do do, do do do. As you can see, I don't like bar chording. I don't do it very often and it makes my wrist hurt. So for my key change I stopped recording, put a capo on the first fret, and just played the rest of the song with the same chord shapes. Both my keyboards also have a transpose button, so again you can push the same keys, you don't have to start playing B flats or anything clever like that. So it's time to record, arrange, orchestrate, create the sound, the big sound. So what are we trying to sort of rip off? This. So the saxophones, big drums, ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba. Nick that. We're trying to make that sound. So I did nick the BPM, so it's 144 beats per minute, so that the footage of all the kids jumping around on top of the pops, for example, will be in sync with my song once I've written it. One thing I find really useful to hear the parts of a song when you're recording it yourself is find a karaoke version. So it's more sparse and you can hear the arrangement slightly better. The bass line does that, which I never would have thought to do. So, GarageBand. I use GarageBand. Yes, I should learn Audacity or Logic, or I should use Logic, but I don't. I use Heart. So the first track can be a little intimidating. You get sort of red light phobia. You hit record and you kind of freeze up. We've all been there. So I like to record a reference track that I have no intention of including in the final mix. This is just me playing any old guitar, probably that one. So this is the first thing I recorded. But it is in 1/4 because of the metronome. There. So it's just a reference, it tells me where the chord changes are, and it's all in time, and I can now record my subsequent tracks over this one. We'll call it a sacrificial track. It's going to be binned. So first thing I did was replace that acoustic guitar. So this is a much nicer sounding proper steel string acoustic guitar. Bit of reverb on it, bit of compression to make it evenly volumed. Now, I mentioned on my last music making video that there are pre-programmed, well, they're not pre-programmed, they're like AI drummers in GarageBand. This one's called Kyle, they're great. So you go to the drummers and you pick one whose style fits the song, where you just want something quite simple. But then you can change the complexity to make a new loop. So this is all one track, pre-programmed, and if I change the length of these loops, Kyle will figure out the fills and change. And it's just great, and it's really useful. Then I wanted to add some additional drum fills or drum noises. Just recorded off my keyboard, which has some not particularly realistic or nicely sampled drum sounds. They're really electric, and I like snare that sounds like that, so you know, it's going to be keyboardy. So these are panned left and right to additional drum parts where I just heard a like extra bits of snare or extra little cymbals playing over the top of Kyle's lovely playing. Goes like this. So with some very simple additions, I made the drums into the drum part that I wanted. Then once I've got drums and a simple guitar laid down, I do the bass. So I picked a very slap bass, twangy, bouncy bass sound, and doing that, which is not a bass line I would have thought of, but it's directly nicked from that karaoke version of the song I'm paying tribute to. Then vocals. Once it's loud enough in your headphones that you've kind of got the guts to go for it, then I do the vocals. This single track of vocals is actually multiple things layered together because I recorded the vocals separately on a laptop. I think because I wanted to go and record in a different room because I was shy about the neighbours or something. So this is a mix down of multiple...
Reindeer, tinsel and turkey too, choirs and mistletoe.
So that's two of me.
5 gold rings and other Christmas things like log fires, noggin snow.
Multi-tracking sounded more poppy to me.
Them presents and deck them halls. Christmas, make the season shine. Christmas, chop the onions fine. Christmas, it's the perfect time for Christmas.
I'm at the top of my range there, but it was lots of fun to do. So there is auto-tune on those backing vocals. I wouldn't do auto-tune on the main vocal unless it was for like comedic effect. But for backing vocals, it's actually quite nice because it just means you just hit the note slightly better. So basically GarageBand knows that the track is in G major, and it makes what you sang fit to the key of the song, in this case G major. Sometimes if your note is really wrong, it can pick the wrong one, but mostly it gives it a nice, you know, Life After Love kind of slightly robotic melody. Percussion time. I always go a bit percussion crazy, so we've got a tambourine, me actually physically hitting a real tambourine, some sleigh bells, me physically hitting some real sleigh bells. But then I decided those sleigh bells were a bit lacking. They're too a gentle trot, so I did some double time sleigh bells, but these recorded off the keyboard because they're slightly more tinkly pop sleigh bell sound. A second tambourine may seem a bit excessive, but as these sleigh bells are panned right over to the right, I thought I may as well, there's lots of trebly room over on the left. So you're just putting in little tambourine hits where they feel like you might want to accentuate something. It's just 4 hits like that, and then the shaking comes in on the chorus. And then I always have crashes last. This is long crash cymbal. Click the little loop symbol in GarageBand and you find the loops. Kyle's pretty good with the cymbals, but he missed a couple where I wanted them, so I added them myself. Let's rock. Royal Rock, apparently, is the rhythm electric guitar sound I chose. So quite choppy, rhythmic, electric rhythm guitar. And those are all bar chords. So whereas on the acoustic I'm playing open chords down the bottom of the neck, on the electric, for a bigger sound, bigger, more open chords, I am playing bar chords. So same chords but played very differently. Then over the top of the Royal Rock rhythm I'm using Big Hair Harmonics, which is a very forgiving lead guitar sound because it's very distorted, lots of reverb, lots of delay, and kind of makes what you do sound good-ish. It's pretty nice, that. It's just individual notes, just lead bits of melody. Da 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 dun 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 dun. Very, very festive. Very, very festive. So that happens over the choruses as well. So this is a chorus. That's all one note. Very poppy, very catchy. Everyone loves it. Hit. Hi. So here I've added a couple of pianos, just panned left and right. Very simple, sometimes just individual notes. It's just little stabs. Then at the end, I kind of let rip as only I can on the piano. It's not even well played, but it's inside a wall of sound, so you don't notice. So when I've said in previous videos that I can't really play the piano, what I mean is when I bought this keyboard, it came with a book of just what are the chords, and I learnt the chords with my right hand, which is a mistake, because really you want to be able to play the bass notes with your left hand whilst playing sort of lead with your right. So I tend to play with basically two fingers on my left hand, and I know the chords with this hand. So it's sort of playing the piano, you just feel the rhythm and just hit the chords, and you've got a piano part. Then we have more organ parts. On my old Yamaha keyboard I showed in my last making video, there are single finger chords. So you just push one note and it just plays a lovely drone for you, just to fill in. It's like when you're doing a painting, you cover the canvas with something first before you start doing the picture. And it's like that, you're filling in all the gaps. Turn that right down, but it's in there and it's just filling the space and accentuating the chord changes and just making it all sound beefy and poppy. Beefy and poppy, my favourite puppet duo. So, high keyboard, just a nice angelic Christmassy keyboard sound. I do find knowing the chords on the keyboard helps you figure out little interweaving melodies. So it's not playing what the vocals are singing, but it's playing a melody that fits over the chords and counterpoints with the vocal and sounds Christmassy, which is more important than anything else. Speaking of which, bells. Tinkly bells. Again, one's panned very right, so the other one's panned very left. So they work in stereo and kind of play off each other. Very often it's one note that you need, or two, just hit a chord change at the end or beginning of a chorus, and that's it, that's the whole track. And then tubular bells are on my keyboard. I still think these are out of tune, but it says they're not. Is that right? I was so unconvinced by the in-tuneness of those tubular bells that, as you'll see, I only use them right at the beginning and also right at the end. Because they have a church bells Christmas morning, oh it's a pleasure doing business with you lad, kind of sound to them. Again, talking about how simple a track can be, this is just additional keyboard percussion. So there's a couple of tings that I wanted. There's one of those. And then at the end I added just that. Because I find this quite a lot when you're recording. If you record with the metronome in your headphones just to stay in time, when you then turn the metronome off, you actually miss the sound of it. Just a simple click, just a really, really basic click to hold the beat. So when it gets big at the end and you've got every layer together, I found myself missing the metronome. So I put in a metronome sound. Horns. The original has lots of horns on. I think it's low, it's alto sax. Brr, brr, honk, honk, kind of rock and roll horn section. These saxophone sounds are off this keyboard. They're not good, but they are fine. So mostly on the offbeat of each chord change, it's just a stab like that. But then I thought there must be some good sounding horns in GarageBand. The lovely thing with GarageBand loops is because this project is in G major, they will be in G major, they'll be in tune with each other, they'll be in time with each other. If you've seen my learning how to play the shenanigan video, that's all made from samples that are in GarageBand. It's just all the folky instruments layered up, and you come up with rhythms that you wouldn't otherwise think of by just stacking samples together like Lego bricks and hearing how they interact. So in GarageBand I found these Latin horns, Latin Day horns. That little offbeat, I don't think I would have thought to put that in there but I really like how it interplays with the less good sounding horns that I recorded myself. Then another track of those same horns. And again, the way the horns go, ba ba da. If I was playing it, I probably would have just have gone ba ba, but they're like ba ba da. So it's a really nicely fitting sample that surprises you because it's not what you would have played yourself. So I looked for more loops, more samples that I might use from GarageBand. Dong! It's just a nice church bell, so I put those in the choruses. Dong! Then a bit that I wanted to be completely unique and very off-kilter with the rest of the song was the what would you see if you could see, which is inspired by what will your daddy do if he sees your mama kissing Santa Claus, ah ha ha, and then we're back into the song. It's just a little oxbow lake. It's a little side hustle before we just get back on with the verses and choruses that we already know. So there's some sudden, very picked acoustic guitar on that section. There's some electric guitar with the amp condensator that I used on my Doctor Who theme again. Isn't that nice? Two sitars. One of them just playing the vocal melody. Always helps to back up the vocal melody with an instrument, not just the voice. So that, I think that's a middle eight. It's the bit that's not the verse, the bridge or the chorus that happens about 3/4 of the way through. Love that. Then a breakdown to a very simple acoustic guitar. Just strumming the chords and letting them hang. That's where the child choir goes. All me, you wouldn't believe it. Crumbs. I was thinking of the track like Grandad, we love you, which I can just remember from my childhood. Child choirs used to get in the charts and they all sort of sang like that. A couple more keyboard parts just for the outro, church organ and a sort of angelic choir. And finally I brought in the sound of a party, because I Wish It Could Be Christmas Every Day has that on. It has the sound of people having a laugh. So very quickly, a word about the video. What did I do? I found archive stuff that I wanted and just ripped it off YouTube. So these are shots from Top of the Pops, very crunchy, very pixelated, very old, low res, which is sort of forgiving but also difficult because you have to simulate that in your own footage. So what did I do? That, you can just see an arm and a mic stand. That is Roy Wood. And I removed him. I cut down the middle of the footage and so just basically stretched it so that with a feathered line down the centre, it just shut over Roy Wood and left enough of him that I could cover him up with myself. Same thing here, he's technically there in the middle of the Pebble Mill studio, and then I cut out this floor as a foreground. I thought I could cover that arm. If you remove me from the shot, you get the ghost of Roy Wood's shoulder, which I am covering up. Is he dead? I don't think he is. Anyway, that's the original footage. So it's looking for particularly any shots where the camera is static. It's easier to superimpose something onto it, obviously. And then in this archive Pebble Mill studio video file, I've put together all the cutaways that don't have Roy Wood in them, so I can use these as cutaways from me when I'm in the footage. And finally, anatomy of a shot. So we did some very simple green screen filming in our old flat. These are 3 green sheets just pinned to the wall. Put the camera on its side, so it limits your horizontal range of motion, but it gives you a bigger version of the image. So I figured because it's supposed to be quite low res and distorted, I could just zoom in on a wide shot to make the close-ups, so I didn't bother filming any close-ups. So the footage you've got actually looks like that. Then I brought them into Final Cut, got them all in time with the song, and made this grid so I can see all the different takes of which bits I want to use. Did I do something good with my hands? Did I do a funny head turn? What have you. So here I've keyed out the green screen, I've drawn a mask around it to remove the bit of carpet and the bit of ceiling, I've put some Gaussian blur on it so it becomes lower res and matches the background more, but then I've also video sharpened the blurred version to create a low res version of the footage, and then used a colour board to take a lot of the warmth out of it, so you're matching kind of black values to here. The black tones might be very blue or very red or very pale, so you've got something to match to, which is really useful. Then another thing that's very useful, how do you bed it? How do you unify it with the background? It's all about what layers you put on top. In the room, as in the layers that are meant to be part of the footage, I've added snow in the air, because there was some snow in the studio, and a whole layer of disco lighting. So for the snow, interesting point. For the snow, I had to put a soft mask on there because the snow falling in front of this person looked artificial and weird. So there's actually a mask on the snow layer. So I turn the snow off. There's no snow. And then these moving shafts of disco light just help us sort of unify the background. So that's with them off and that's with them on. And they just flatten it all together because it's a layer that's applied to everything. So if I remove all the effects from that disco light layer, that's what it actually looks like. This is a stock footage layer that I've zoomed in. I've applied the blend mode screen, which removes all the black from a layer so you can just see through the black parts. Blurred it a bit and matched it up with the background. I've got these black matte sidebars, so that just tidies up the edges. And then, as I do with my Food Farms videos, or anything that's meant to look like old tape, I've applied a layer of video noise. Whether you can even see, it's very subtle, but it's just a moving grain which, using the blend mode multiply, that knocks out the white, so it's got some film grain on it, stops anything from looking too still. Then there's VHS video noise, which is just this kind of purple glow and some little white flicks. Again, just use screen mode to remove the black. And finally, take the whole layer of me on the background, compound clip it all together so it's like one clip, and I've applied Bad TV, Sharpen Again, and Prism. So without the effects, it looks like that, and with them, it looks like that. It's very subtle. Is that even picking up on camera? I don't know, but it looks good. Particularly the Bad TV effect I love, because anything that's still, like Food Farms, is just a load of photographs, but the Bad TV effect makes it wobble, and it keeps the image alive. So even though this is just a still, it has some tape flicker and some wobble to it, so the image is always alive with the sound of music. And that's the end of that. I'll do an outro now. I promised my wife I'm going to edit this in one day because we need to start celebrating Christmas. I always do this. Anyway, thank you for watching my Food Farms video if you have. Apologies to people who just want me to make making videos for making a Food Farms video, and apologies to people who want me to make Food Farms videos for making videos. But it's all me, and I don't think anyone really minds. You're probably just voices in my head. Here's the finished thing.
And a 2, and a 1, 2, 3, down! Reindeer, tinsel and turkey too, choirs and mistletoe, 5 gold rings and other Christmas things like log fires, nog and snow. Wrap them presents and deck them halls, a jingle yon jingle bell. Hang them stockings on your Christmas walls while I hang mine as well. Christmas, make the season shine. Christmas, chop the onions fine. Christmas, it's the perfect time for Christmas. Well, that little Saint Nick gonna bring the cheer. He's on his little way. It's an absolutely festive time of year. Hey, 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 hey. There's lots of toys for girls and boys, girls and lovely boys. Lots and lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of toys. She's a-coming soon. Christmas, singing them old carol tunes. Christmas, 4 tablespoons of parsley. What would you see if you could see through Santa's tiny eyes? Christmas, singing merrily. Hey, Christmas, rosy Christmas tree. Christmas, and the sausage meat and breadcrumbs. Oh, wait. 1, 2, 3, 4. Christmas, rocking tail and drop. Christmas, at the party hop. Christmas, cook and finely chop your chestnuts.
Alright, that's enough. Lovely. Thank you very much to my wife for filming that. I don't thank her enough. I mentioned her, but I don't thank her enough. And of course to my patrons who make it all possible. Let me know if this was interesting. I hope it was. I hope it was at least Christmassy. If you celebrate, have a very, very lovely Christmas. Go easy on yourself and others. Thanks very much as always for watching. Lots and lots of love from me. Merry Christmas, and I will see you in 2024.